Hello, Wellness Check Wednesdays community. We wanted to take a moment to remind you that while our podcast serves as a safe space for open discussions and sharing experiences, we are not mental health experts. This podcast is a platform for you to express your thoughts, feelings, and experiences in a judgment-free zone. Our aim is to foster connection, provide support, and create a sense of community. It's crucial to acknowledge that we are not a substitute for professional mental health advice or treatment. If you or someone you know is dealing with mental health challenges, we strongly encourage seeking guidance from qualified professionals. Remember, reaching out to mental health experts can make a significant difference. If you ever feel the need, don't hesitate to connect with a licensed therapist, counselor, or healthcare professional.
This is the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast, a share space, a judgment-free zone, a place to meet and discuss our mental health. So let's check in.
Well, we have embarked on episode 28 of the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast, and we're thankful for all of our listeners out there. And we always on Wednesdays, we always want everybody to join us and let's check in. With that being said, my name is Brian Livingston, aka Be Live, the producer. I am the moderator here of the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. And with us on this evening, we have one of the originators of the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast, our very own, right here out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, by way of the Share Studios, my man, Kevin Marshall.
Hey, whether it's hot, whether it's spicy, it's time for a beach.
Very, very much so. Speaking of the beach, our other originator, the one, the only, Edwin Vereen, he is not with us this evening because he picked up an extra shift. He's trying to make some extra money because he is headed home to North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for a week to celebrate his niece getting married. I believe, Amaisha, congratulations to you and to the family. I am trying everything I can to get down there to see y'all, if it's not but for just a day or so. We shall see. With that being said, also joining us on this week's episode by way of Oklahoma, I found that out today. I tried to put them all types of other places, and I was just wrong. Is my man with the new mic, AD. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you guys doing this afternoon or this evening, I should say?
Boy, AD, you sounding real crispy clear right now, Bubba.
I like it.
Awesome.
So yes, he speaking of, yes, it's still afternoon on this end of the world as well. The sun is still shining and beating down on our foreheads, whatnot. But yes, as we opined on last week, June is Men's Mental Health Month. And so we're going to just dive in on topics that are near and dear to the men's psyche. And it actually feels reassuring. I was speaking to a couple of our female listeners earlier today, and one thing that we wanted to do as far as this podcast in general is that to be all inclusive. Like, mental health is not bound to a gender, to a sex, to a religion. It is part of the human mindset. We all have a brain we use to think, and et cetera, and mental health is very important. One thing that they spoke of to me earlier today was that it differs in a sense, because when it comes to women and their mental, there's a lot, in a sense, there are more avenues, there are more outlets for women than there are men. Because I mean, that psyche, that what's it called, that stereotypical, that that masculinity sort of thing, that men are just supposed to be stronger, and that's not always the case. So essentially, it's uh, it's somewhat generational. It's somewhat just how society views men as opposed to how they view women. So therefore, men's mental health is not something that is talked about as much as women's mental health or mental health as a whole. So, hey, I am more than willing to pivot and focus more on the men's psyche and men's mental health, especially during this month. It is very important that we, as men, we bust some of these walls that we hold, that we live behind, these walls that we've set up ourselves, thinking that we're following along in society's sort of way of how men are supposed to be perceived. Caring about our mental health is not a sign of weakness. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It is a form of strength, knowing that we need help. And so that's what we're going to focus on this month. And then we're just like I said, as we shift and as we grow as a podcast, and as the gentlemen and the ladies have been on the show before, and we're going to we play some things by ear. We're going to grow as the times come and everything, and essentially be that outlet that, hey, that I need, that Kevin needs, that Edwin needs, that AD needs, that Joe needs, that Dominique needs, that Jenny needs, and those that have joined the show before and looked into it, and others that to Devin, absolutely want to shout out my man. Devin has been on the show before, and those that may come on the show later, hey, be that outlet that is needed for those that want to join and be a part of this journey. And so today, we're going to dive into what it means when we say, I'm done. What does it mean when we've taken all that we can take? And we're talking about this particular situation. We don't necessarily want to dive into as far as going to that the darkest place, and I will say it by name when it comes to suicide. We're not going to take it as far as that, but that is part of mental health, and we need to be very cautious, to be very wary when somebody says that they're done. It's like whether it be a particular situation or whether it be all encompassing, I'm done. What does that actually mean? And when people get to that point, how do we necessarily deal with it? And so the first thing I want to upon, like I said, Edwin does the research part, and I applaud him for it. And I do apologize for those that are listening that I didn't dive into the actual research part of it.
I tried, and everything that I looked up dealt with saying when men say I'm done dealing with relationships.
Okay, got you. Well, it's such a broad range of when you say that you're done. That is a major part of when men say I'm done. It could be relationships, it could be work, it could be family, it could be just your social scene. It could be any number of things. But relationships definitely is a big part of it. Like I said, I went to the other side of the spectrum when I said when it comes to all in all. But the reason why I say that is because when somebody says I'm done, you actually do have to think about that the totality of the situation. And so the first thing that I think about, because there's been many situations in my life, now I'm embarking on the 42nd year of my life, just celebrate my birthday 3 years ago, shameless plug. Um, when you when you're fed up, when you're tired, when you see like when you've done all that you can think of doing, You've shed that final tear. You've shut off the lights and buried yourself in a corner. And like I said, I've done this in relationships. I've done this in multiple facets of life where I'm not done. And so the first thing I think about is just mental exhaustion. It's just your brain hurts. You've tried and you've tried and you've tried and you've tried until you don't think you can try anymore when it comes to whatever in blank insert whatever situation here. Because in my like I say in my thought process, and I think mental, I also think emotional, I think of spiritual, like I think of all these different elements where we just say enough is enough. I'm done. Whether it be severing ties, cutting people off, whether it means reclusiveness, being by yourself, focusing on yourself, whether it means the job site, the workplace. You've done everything you can and you don't see any more progress. And so that is the point of topic that we want to focus on. I want to invite AD to come on and tell us a little bit about when you say that you are done. What do those words mean to you?
Usually, when I say I'm done, it means it's just I'm over the situation. I'm tired of talking about it, tired of dealing with it, don't want it around anymore. Just removing either myself or, whatever the conversation is out of the equation. Um, I know that there's some that go past that point, unfortunately, and it's a thing where this being men's mental health month and everything, it's so many guys you know take themselves off the planet because of whether it's job's been rough, um love life is bad, families lost, kids don't love them, just so many different factors where some people just give up and they're done, and that's like the permanent ending, unfortunately. That's and uh, and it's unfortunate because there's a lot in life that you can go forward with and try to find the help to keep you from taking taking that route. It's yeah, so that's usually what I mean whenever I say I'm done with something. It's like I'm done with the situation, but I'm not going to that extreme.
And I would definitely want to opine on that very much so because um mental health, suicide awareness is a big thing. And especially here, like here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, we are the adjoining city of the largest military base in the world when it comes to Fort Liberty, Fort Bragg. And so we run into a lot of military members that don't see any way out. So, like one thing I want to make sure that I mention before we continue: seek professional help.
Amen.
I cannot express that enough, especially with the outlet that we have here with the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. We're not professionals. I hope that our the words that we speak of, our personal experiences that we talk about, may shine a light and bring you encouragement. But I profess, and I will say this over and over again: we are not professionals. We're not. We're merely men that are going through a similar trajectory in life, and that we want to take the time to care about our mental health. It's very important. Mental health is literally the bane of our. It is how we exist. Like if we don't have our mentals together, God forbid trying to put anything else in life together. And so we very much so. If you ever feel like you're in that dark corner, there's so many outlets And I do believe I have some of them featured in our intro and our outro and everything about how to seek like the suicide hotline and different outlets that are out there that cost nothing. And so I definitely want to make sure that that is well known. And also I will make sure that those outlets are available through this podcast. Oh man, oh man, Kevin, what does I'm done mean to you?
What does I'm done mean? To a certain point, as I've gotten older, especially now coming into my 30s, it comes to a point of fight or flight mode. You go so strong, you've been taught so strong as males to be strong, don't shed a tear, don't cry, don't show vulnerability, don't don't be so quick to jump to an emotion, to a conclusion. And it comes down to a question of fight or flight. When I hit that strong wall of this is enough, this is it, this is done, I'm done, it now goes into that question of self self enlightening, that do I continue to fight or do I continue to just fly with this and fly with everything that goes on? Because me personally, I'm a energetic soul. I am a outgoing person. I always love to see everybody around me having a good time, to see that everybody else is also involved. But it's like this goes into a general aspect of a question. When have you ever just stopped and really grabbed the most outgoing person in the room and asked them, "Hey, how you doing?" Genuinely, to see whether or not are they in fight or flight mode.
And the key things that I hear from that is that because that not only is a natural response to any situation that we face, like, hey, are we gonna find our way through it, or are we going to run away from it?
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, really run around it. Not necessarily run away from it, but run around it. Sometimes certain situations that we go through in life, we don't run away from it. We just like, oh, hold on, I'm a detour around this. There's no reason for me to go through it at all. Some things that don't even pertain to me, and then just certain things like I am a big. Sometimes I'm a big advocate of it, and I've been saying this a lot recently. Not my monkey, not my circus.
Well,
Like,
and I agree with you. And it comes down to a point that what happens, and this is a lot of question that I have seen not asked, that I've heard not asked, is that what do you do when those situations occur that you can't detour? What do you do when those situations occur for that part of that sea, that lake, that ocean, that you just have to go with that wave and see what happens?
and so and pick and choose your battles.
Yeah.
And so what I apply to that is I've seen in a lot of situations where I know for the most part what the outcome is going to be just based off of the person that it involves.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes when it comes to saying I'm done, I've tried. I've tried everything I can to get said person to see things in a different light, to look things in a more positive way, or maybe like sometimes just seeing things from a different point of view. And some people refuse to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like their decisions are theirs alone, and it doesn't matter who else it may affect. So sometimes it comes to people in general, like, hey, yo, bruh, whatever, hey, do you. I'm done with all of this. You can coexist with me. We can have casual conversation, but for the most part, I'm gonna take this little detour around this
Right.
and
Right.
keep it moving. So people sometimes I'm just until you see things differently, until you're more of a highlight to my mental health as
Mhm.
opposed to an anchor, bro.
And the pine on something you said, one of the biggest lessons I've learned within the past, I want to say maybe 2, almost 3 years now, is approach a situation, but look at it from the outside looking in. Remove your emotions, remove your factor. And like you just said, be a lot of people, you can almost predict the outcome because of the fact, oh, how this person is, oh, he's showing this emotion, oh, he's a wimp, or he's a loser, da 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 da. But a lot of the times that those people don't want to look at it from the outside looking in. Remove yourself, put yourself in another person's pair of shoes, walk a mile in that person's shoes. What a lot of people, and even this generation that I've seen, aren't they? I'm not going to say aren't doing, but they don't take it into a more heavier consideration.
But see, that's a key thing that we when you brought up this topic, that was really one of the big things that really jumped out to me is that when I say I'm done, it's usually more or less people than it is certain situations. I mean, there's certain situations where I definitely say, you know what, yep, I'm done. Like, and certain one thing that I've been guilty of is holding on to stuff in the past too long. There's nothing I can do to change what happened in the past. What I can do is that I make sure I don't make the same mistakes.
Mm.
And so certain things like I have sentimental value towards, but there were certain things that I'm like, yo, all right, you got to let that go. I'm done. I'm done crying over that. I'm done getting upset over that. I'm done.
Right.
And so, but for the majority part, did really, and I'm glad you mentioned that earlier about relationships. It's people that I've had, the people that I've wanted so badly to be a part of my life, and I'm like, you know what, I'm done, bro.
Yeah.
I've had to do it. I will. Certain people, I take in little doses because I can't just completely avoid them. But when it comes to certain things, I'm done.
AD, what say you, AD?
About being done.
Just in general, 'cause I know you've been listening, man. You've been awful quiet on that new mic.
I mean, I did speak on it already.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
and I guess what Kevin wants, because again, we want to include everybody and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
The question I pose, a question that I pose to you is that, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, because I mean, it could be on a personal level. But the first thing that really jumps out to you, or there's been a position or time in your life where you said, I'm done. Like, hey, I remember last week, and if hopefully I'm not bringing up something bad or anything, you mentioned your relationship or whatnot that you had, that you
Uh-huh.
talked about before. Like, you said that you couldn't necessarily, like, you weren't strong enough to carry on with someone else because you need to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily an I'm done situation. I look at something more or less like this. This is a good saying. There are people that have come in your life. They're people for a reason, people for a season, people for a lifetime. And as human as we are, we try to keep people that were meant to be seasonal. We try to keep them for a lifetime.
Mhm.
And how I look at that is I want a tree in my life. everybody who's close to me, I consider them a tree. People that have come and gone, and people that have fell off, and people that just grow distant. Those were leaves of the season at the moment. They prospered, and whether they prospered for them or whether they helped me prosper and we prospered together, they were prosperous in that moment of that season. I seen that. Don't you mute me? It got a little morbid in here. I had to make it laugh. Just a little bit.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, like
that is true. That is true. Is having people around for seasons. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
and that's what essentially, because I've been so guilty of this. Like I like just looking at, I mean, I've been through 5 different lifetimes. When it comes to when it comes to the book, if somebody was ever to write a book about my life, there's gonna be there are chapters in my life, and then there's full on this is almost like the Hunger Games. Like there's 3 different books, Harry Potter, and like there's whole books that I've lived through, and you know I got to move on. I got to move on. And then there's some people that I've tried to keep with me, and then I don't know. I consider myself less than most people as far as like carrying people along. Like when it's time, I'm like, yep, I'm done. You are not being beneficial to my life at all. You're an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Vacuum. You're
a vacuum. Is it a Hoover vacuum?
Such life, not in a good way. I said that. I put it on the air. But I think of that. I think about the amount of people I've met over the course of time, and it's just I don't hold that much weight when it comes to people that are in my past. I leave people in my past. I mean, from ex-girlfriends to former best friends to just people like, hey, and it's not, and sometimes it's not even a bad thing. It's just we move on. And then we go in different paths, and I don't fault people at times that go a different path, and shoot, I wouldn't blame half the people for moving on from some of the dumb mess I've done. Man.
I imagine all 3 of us, even me and AD, could attest to that one.
Some of this, I'm done. I did it to myself. Like people said, I'm done when it comes to me. I'm like, bruh, again, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get over it. It don't hurt that much. Yeah, it do. No, it don't. Okay, I get. You know what? You're right. And so, I guess more or less it's defining when you're done with something, and either sticking to it or realizing, hey, maybe I shouldn't be done with it. That's also another side of it. Maybe I shouldn't be done with a certain thing just because it's inconvenient for me at a time. And so it's a balance that we need to discover. It's the never-ending cycle of trying to figure out what is good in our lives and what is beneficial to our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And
what's not just a leaf.
Yeah.
Some of that comes with growth and maturity. Like, hey, something I said that I'd be done with 10, 15 years ago, maybe I have a little bit more patience now. And also something 10, 15 years from now that I tried to hold on to. And I'm looking at it now like, what the hell were you thinking?
What, like drinking Jameson till 4 o'clock in the morning?
I still do that. That's still me.
Not the 4 a.m. Jameson.
Yes, sir. 4 a.m. J-Mo.
Why I don't know why you talking like that. State of North Carolina, alcohol sales must end at 2 a.m. So I don't know what he's talking about. But no, here's something that I thought about was I had this conversation with before we recorded on a different podcast with a young lady, and just certain drama behind relationships, and I see it every which way that I go. It's prevalent, especially because I'm in the bar scene as a karaoke DJ and stuff like that. It's very prevalent that, man, just this one sleeping with this one, and then just it's still supposed to be with this person, and all kinds of stuff. People getting separated, but not really being separated, and but they want their cake and want to eat it too. And here's the thing, I'll be the first to say I'm done before something even starts. When it comes with mess and drama, I've never been, and I used to try to play along a little in my earlier life, but now I'm too old for. Sometimes I'd be thinking I'm gonna be alone for the rest of my life, but I just don't do drama and mess. I be a weekend a week into talking to somebody, drama. Nope, I'm done.
Oh,
No, what you're not gonna do is from the jump bring drama into this brand new quote unquote relation. No, I'm done. I just won't allow that to even enter my psyche. Fellas, any last words that you have before Zoom does what it does and kicks us off? We got about 2.5 minutes.
AD.
for me, don't have much else. Just if you're done, you're done. And if you're done with it, make sure you're done with it.
Right.
Do not revisit.
I like that. I like that very much, man. Kevin, any last words you got to say?
From a landscaper and your friendly lawn man, love, peace, and hair grease, and pick up them leaves and bag them up and throw them away.
All right.
I like it.
And my fat ass gonna get out there and do some landscaping with him, maybe lose some more of these pounds. I'm losing weight.
Hey,
I just want to
Hey,
that's a small victory. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
tighten this up. Though. I'm gonna tighten this belly up. But with that being said, this is episode 28 of the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. I know that Edwin is going to be out of town for a week, so it may be another week. I'm not sure. We'll find out. But I know that he's taking a mental break this week, headed to the beach, and I wish him and his family all of the safe travels and all the love.
Same, bro.
Comes with a wedding.
you
Celebrate, but it's a celebrate.
Yes, sir.
It's a celebration.
And if you hear this, because I know you might listen to it, much love, brother. And I had to keep the laughter going without our number one comedian here.
Oh, you're definitely the comedian of the show, Kevin. You number one with that knucklehead. With that being said, once again, this is another episode of the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. Every Wednesday, and at any given point in time, you feel the need to always
Let's
check in.
We're out. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast. Please join us every week, Wednesdays on Zoom at 6 p.m., and join our Facebook group for updates and to participate. We care about your mental health, so let's check in.